Hey guys, this is Jen over at jenscrappypages.blogspot.com, and this is today's card. It is using a little bit of retiring, a little bit of carrying over, and a little bit of new. So let's get to the products and I'll show you how I made it. I used the finely woven ribbon in the Berry Burst, which is new in the catalog coming up. A little bit of Baker's Twine and Whisper White. The stamp sets that I pulled from are the Birthday Banners and Swirly Bird, which are both carrying over to the new catalog. And the You're Sublime, once again, because it's retiring and I'm going to miss this. The dies that I used are the Stitched Shapes Framelits, and I used the largest square from this and the scalloped square from this one. The colors that I used are Bermuda Bay, Lemon Lime Twist, Berry Burst, and Basic Black. I just love these colors all together. I used the Balloon Bouquet Punch, a couple of markers for coloring in my frog, and a touch of Wink of Stella. The supplies that you'll need to create this card in cardstock is the Bermuda Bay. It's a 4 1/4 by 11, and that is my card base. Berry Burst 3 by 4. Whisper White, there's quite a bit of it. 4 by 5 1/4, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, a 3 by 3, a 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 that I've already stamped our frog in, so it's dry when I color it, and then you'll need a scrap for the balloon. So let's get started first by creating our beautiful bright background. I just love how you can use random stamping to create your own background paper. So I'm going to use the 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 piece of Whisper White for this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with one color in the middle. Let me get things situated around here. And I'm going to bring in my Berry Burst and my Bermuda Bay along with the Lemon Lime Twist. These are going to be my 3 color choices. So I'm going to start off, I think I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. And that is our first, that's our first stamp, yay! And then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to use the Berry Burst. And I want these fairly close to each other. So then that's going to go there. And with each one of these, I'm cleaning in between. Now my Bermuda Bay, I kind of have to ink this one up a little bit differently just because it's a little ink spot, which came from one of my paper pumpkins. Kind of handy. And then I'm going to create a little triangle with these. And then I'm going to come back with my Bermuda Bay on this side. And I'm going to start creating my pattern, or I guess lack of a pattern if it's random, huh? So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to stamp this guy out on this side. And this is how I'm going to continue on with my stamping. So I think I'm going to bring my Lemon Lime Twist back and I'm going to put one right here. And then I'm going to take my Lemon Lime Twist again, and I'm just going to fill in this space over here. So this is what I'm going to do to finish out my card front, and I'll fast forward so you can see how I threw the colors together. So there is my finished piece. Isn't that really pretty with all 3 of those colors in there together? I just love how vibrant and bright it is. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and let's bring out our little toad, and we're going to color him in. Generally, I like to use the shimmery white cardstock for this, But I was watching a video the other day and someone showed kind of the neat technique when you're using just regular Whisper White cardstock. And she colored it by trying not to color over the same spot again. So almost like in an up and down fashion. And I thought it turned out pretty decent. I'm pretty picky with my coloring and I really dislike the lines, but this turned out pretty decent. So I'm just going to color him in with the Lemon Lime Twist and then go back in and color his spots with the Always Artichoke. So that's not too shabby, huh? I think he turned out pretty good. I did take on my original card my fine tip glue pen. Now that I've discovered that I can use this like a liquid glass, I came in and I gave a nice little layer of this liquid glass to each of his eyeballs, which gave a little bit more definition to him. So that's all that is, and we're just going to set him aside away so he can dry. So let's go ahead and start building our card. And I used the Whisper White to separate all of the colors, which I found when I put my background on a color, it didn't seem to really pop the way I was hoping it would. So the Whisper White just gave a little bit of definition in between each layer. So I'm going to put my 4 by 5 1/4 layer on first, and then our random stamped piece. And then I'm going to bring in our next piece, which is the 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. And I just put this so it was a little bit top heavy. So you want your edges even up top, and then you're just going to have a little of this extra down at the bottom. So I didn't want to completely cover it all, and I kind of liked how it wasn't 100% centered. And this is just going to go in the center here, so you're just going to have that little tiny hint of white showing through each layer. The next layer that I'm going to do is I think I'm going to actually wait on that. So let's create the scalloped frame that's going to go around our frog. I'll bring in the handy dandy Big Shot for that. I'm going to use my the 3 by 3, and I'm just going to cut out the stitched shape, the stitched square on this one to create a frame. I'm going to bring this back and I'm going to use the scalloped square, and that actually just lines up perfectly with that stitching along the edge. So that's going to get centered in here, and this is how we're going to cut our frame that's going to go on top. Then I'm going to bring in my 3 1/8 by, or 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, and I'm going to bring back my frame into this one as well, and I'm going to place it where I want my scalloped square to be. So hopefully centered. And then I'm going to put my frame right back over in that area. So maybe we'll just do it this way. Make sure that that's centered up there. So this is what you will end up having. I'm going to go ahead and use my fine tip glue pen, and I'm going to adhere my frame to the top of this. You just need a small bead of that to go around. And so very carefully I'm going to line up all of my little scalloped points, and then you have this nice little frame that goes on top. I don't know if you guys, there, can you see that? So then the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and stamp out our little balloon, and we're going to cut it out with the punch. just love how bright and cheery these colors are. The punch that we're going to be using is the smaller balloon, which I have too long. So I'm just going to cut this down. And that's just going to come in here and very carefully punch it up. To attach your twine, you are going to put a little glue dot, which is kind of what helped me, and that's just going to go right here. And then I'm going to set this little guy aside. So I think I'm ready to go ahead. It's not completely dry, but if I'm careful, then I think what I'm going to do to adhere him, since my eyeballs are still wet, is I'm just going to use some little glue dots to stick him down. Just one in each of the corners should be sufficient. And he's going to go right here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some of this longer adhesive, the dimensional adhesive, to put my frame down because my edges are pretty narrow in through here. So I'm just going to take off a strip, might have to use a couple of them, and put this down. And you're just going to want to frame this. And you totally could use this as well as a little window. So you could probably put like a little window sheet over it. Now before I finish this, I'm going to go ahead and wrap my ribbon around to the back here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on each side to catch my ribbon on the back side of it. I absolutely love this ribbon. It is so soft, and the texture is really pretty, and I even like the thickness of it as well. But I did not create a bow just because I kind of thought a knot would look a little bit better, and my bow might have been a little bit too big for that area. So I'm going to put another little thing of adhesive down here at the bottom. And very carefully, we're going to set this so it is centered on top of the berry burst. Isn't that turning out super cute so far? Okay, so the next thing, we're going to take our little balloon, and I'm just going to put a little glue dot on it. And I'm going to put this kind of up here in this corner of there. And then I'm going to bring my string down and just put a little bit of adhesive right where his hand is. I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and in the meantime I'm going to go ahead and tie a little bitty teeny tiny bow to put at the edge of the balloon. And I'm just going to use a glue dot to adhere it down. And that's going to go here on my, right about there. And then what I did on my other card is I took a dimensional element, or dimensional, Stampin' Dimensional, and I secured my balloon down so it wasn't kind of floating up as high as it is. So I'm just going to throw this down underneath, which I probably should have done before I put it there. See if I can use my tweezers to get it to stick. There. And it looks like my glue, there. So he's kind of holding it. And then let's make a little knot out of our ribbon. This just kind of adds that little extra touch to the ribbon. So it doesn't need to be super tight because it'll end up pulling in your corners. So I think I'm just going to leave it just like that. Just cut my ends off. Maybe this one got a little too long. There. Then the final piece of this is going to be our Wink of Stella. Now, I did want to show you quick on this card. I attempted to put the fine tip glue pen over the Wink of Stella, and I really wasn't too thrilled with the way it turned out because it ended up kind of almost muddying up the ink on the stamp on this one. So I think for this card, I'm going to go ahead and just throw on the Wink of Stella and call it good. All right, so that is our finished card. There's quite a few steps on this, but I think it turned out pretty darn cute. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a little something new today, and I will have dimensions listed on a PDF file on my blog, jenscrappypages.blogspot.com, if you would like to stop by and print them out. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later. Bye.